Hello again, ladies and gents, and welcome back to your favorite show, the AJ Roberts Show, with one of your favorites, Mr. Brad Wozny from over in North America. I say North America because he's always traveling around. I never know where he is. Welcome to the show, brother.
Good day to see you, AJ, and welcome from Vancouver, China, behind the Iron Curtain, as Pastor Arthur Pawlowski so eloquently put it, but unfortunately put it 48 hours ago on my show with him and Michael Jaco.
Absolutely, man. Guys and girls, for those of you who've never seen Brad before, Brad's a former Canadian soldier. He's been on multiple podcasts all over the world, and he's got his own fantastic show, the Sovereign Soul Show, which I've been privileged to be on with a number of fantastic guests that you know, like Derek Johnson, etc. So I wanted to get Brad on the show so us two could have a real good manly chat about where we see things going and what we're seeing in terms of like timeline shift, consciousness and stuff like that, things that our man here is absolutely specialist in. So just give people a bit of a background about yourself, brother. Is what to just share a bit about your past, your military service, what you've been doing in Canada, and obviously more recent years, taking things to the next level in terms of all the skills and drills and teachings that you bring people.
Wow, I like that. That's awesome. It's a great way. Skills and drills teaching. I'm like, wow, you got a great way with words, mate. And it's no wonder, right? Because you're so fantastic as a husband, as a leader, as a combat veteran, and somebody who is a guide, an advisor, and a mentor to kids. And that's what it's all about right now. So for all those watching the broadcast or listening to this podcast, yes, I am Brad Wozny, and I am a Canadian. Currently, as people would see, part of a certificate member of the Crown Corporation of Canada, registered in 1861 on the Securities and Exchange Commission in Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. And I'm elaborating because many people are starting to awakening to this effect of what's been perpetrated upon us. And if you're watching the broadcast, by the way, but the name of my show, as AJ put it, is the Sovereign Soul Show. And our ethos, the creed, is love, levity, and liberty, in that order, because love is the most powerful form of anything in the universe. And I say soul is created by, and it stands for the sound of uniform love, right? Or you can also say sound of unlimited love. That's where God created us. We're a unique expression of God. I'm a Reiki master. I've been a Reiki master for 8 years, been doing Reiki for 21, never taken a penny for it. I've usually give that to animals, especially horses, and working with domestically abused and volunteer horses. Not a lot of that has happened in the last few years as I've been walking this path. And if anybody's looking at the Buddha over my shoulder, that's our mascot, the Blinked Buddha. He's firing red pills from his 9mm because that's just an awesome thing people are always drawn to. And what's really key about that image is he's got a Punisher's tattoo over his left breast, over his heart, representing Save the Children, right? And so when we look at the Buddha, folks, there's nothing religious about what we are here to speak with you today about whatsoever, right? Because the way I grew up, I believe religions were politicized, and that's not where we want to be. We are an aspect of God. Now, I said God. God to me stands for the greatest omnipresence of divinity. He and she are the all omnipresent creator of all living things and sentient life in this cosmos, as well as others. And so when AJ and I have done multiple shows together, and I've been so blessed and honored to get to know him and some other amazing folks in his realm, like Big Steve Forsyth and that gentleman on this show, right? Warriors of God, warriors of the light in their souls incarnated in this lifetime. And to wrap this aspect of it, we're going to talk about sovereignty, the return to sovereignty and God, right? And we all know, and AJ has said this many times on his show, right? God is in our DNA. You look at Aramaic, Hebrew, and Sanskrit, and you literally have, and Greg Braden, by the way, if anybody wants to fact check this, Greg Braden has brought this out on his program as well. So our 64 strands of DNA, the Cabal, the Deep State, the Reptilians, the Luciferians, those who worship Satan have detuned that on purpose because we're literally superhumans. We're freaking superhumans, and that's fucking amazing, dude. We can do the things that we've seen X-Men do, right? And have these unique expressions, each one of us. Maybe not all of us could fly like Superman, but other of us may be able to phase shift through walls. I mean, it's already proven. Michael Jaco has said that's exactly what he was taught. So he can phase shift his entire person through a wall and walk through walls. And that's where we're going. So that's going to be an interesting aspect of our show, I believe, too, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of what I do very much now and have done for a good well over a year now is try and raise the level of consciousness in the individual and the collective, and then show people the power of collective consciousness and how the effect that has on what's projected. So we talk about there like everything's an expression or a projection of us. That includes collectively as well. So obviously you don't need to have been a soldier to understand like the term "know thy enemy." And it's for our entire lifetimes, the enemy has known us better than we've known ourselves. And we're at a stage now in the awakening where people are waking up, from this almost like an insomnia of who they truly are. That's all it is. And, I always say I don't like to put pink and fluffy words around anything. We don't need to. We don't really need to call it a spiritual awakening. We're just remembering who we are in this grand scheme of things collectively. But like to keep us all dumbed down, that's why since birth, we go through the whole hospital birth process, the birth certificate, I think it's now about 50 jabs by the time you're 16 or whatever it is, to completely close the pineal gland, the third eye.
How crazy
72,
is that?
yeah. It's just like, and ladies and gents, if your children are still getting these, you need to stop like ASAP, because it's just completely slowing them down, and it's slowing you down. And that's basically what we've been facing our lifetimes, and our parents and their parents going, back, a good couple of 100 years now in this enslavement. And exactly as Brad said. So we're at a place now where people are really opening their eyes, right, to the huge war that we are in, because it's a unrestricted warfare, isn't it? So it's coming from all angles. It's psychological, it's spiritual, it's economical, it's it's all of it, multifaceted. And that's all part of the confusion, but it's all about waking us up, which is what the last 3 years has actually been about. And we've discussed this many times on podcasts with Derek, etc., that we are actually in a big war to expose the very people that have suppressed us. What's been your key highlight, given your journey and everything that and what you teach and stuff like that, from the last, say, 6 months, and what you've seen in terms of the rate at which people are starting to understand, to get it, to awaken?
Well, so the highlight, by the way, for me is connecting with amazing folks like you on a show, literally, because that gives us hope, right? That shows us that there is that collective consciousness we've all spoken about, been taught about, we know about, that's within us, quantum entanglement, where we're all connected. That's what the ability for somebody like a Reiki master or doing Reiki, you can connect with somebody that's collective consciousness, and quantum entanglement also explains why you might be thinking of somebody and then your phone freaking rings, or you get a text message and you haven't heard from them for months or years. So the highlight for me is having the guests on the show and connecting with folks like you, brother, because we're all saying virtually the same thing at the same time, and more people are showing up, whether they're tuning in, they're listening, they're showing up at rallies, they're planting more signs at the Forest of the Fallen, whether it's Australia, New Zealand. And I was just on last week, 7 days ago, a Zoom with the Alliance of Indigenous Nations. They have nearly 900 tribes about to sign a sovereign treaty worldwide, globally, to trade with each other, to recognize, listen, we may be Apache, we may be Maori, we may be, Ojibwe or Lakota Horse Nation, right? Wherever they are in the world. But we are declaring our sovereignty from everything, even though we've been declaring it against just the government. Everybody knows these NGOs, right? Governus mentis. Government stands for governus mentis. Governus mentis in Latin directly translates to control minds. Rihanna wore the t-shirt at the American Super Bowl this year in January. T-shirt had an upside down cross and had the words "to control minds." Literally, government right in your faces, right? Just like they put so much in front of our faces, like pharmacy, pharmakia. And I just had a show with Dr. Artist, by the way. You mentioned this for vaccines, and I want to share this with parents. Hope you don't mind. So Dr. Brian Artist, if you ever know the documentary Watch the Water, well, they literally have it right now, where they went back 7 decades, and they have clinically studied. These are from France, from the United Kingdom, from America, and other countries around the world. Clinically studied. Every vaccine ever produced has had at least one type of venom, and the current COVID mRNA bioweapon, technological weapon vaccines, by the way, those are from the state of Florida that just ruled on it 2 weeks ago. If nobody's aware of this, and you're just coming to AJ's show right now, the state of Florida has voted to classify every mRNA vaccine as a biological weapon and a technological weapon because of the millions to trillions of graphene oxide self-assembling nano robot technology inside it, right? They lace these things with HIV, with cancer, and on many of these mRNA vaccines, they found 24 different types of venoms. Snake venom, sea snail venom, venoms from scorpions, venoms from one of those monitor lizards, I forget what they are, but they're up like 6 or 8 feet. They're kind of like a massive Komodo dragon, and their saliva and bacteria is so deadly it'll paralyze you if they bite you, even though they don't have teeth to bite. It'll paralyze and then they tear you apart. And then starfish venom in all of these things to poison you. And he's even shown that these develop the spike proteins. And now in returning to sovereignty and God, we have things, whether it's root brands to other things like nicotine, which has a 2-pack-a-day smoker at a time. When I was finished my infantry battle school, AJ, I was doing 2 packs a day. You remember, like, smoke them if you got them, right? You know, Canadian and UK military, very, very similar, right? Like, not even kissing cousins. They're like brothers in terms of our regimented, because again, Commonwealth, of our regimented instruction. And they're like, all right, you know, sun shines, take 5 minutes, cigarette break, smoke them if you got them. You're like, okay, great. Go on a 10K run with the 60K backpack and off you go right in the middle. That's how we did it. And it was always nicotine. It's not, it's pyrazine. Nicotine, as they've now shown, natural nicotine is not addictive whatsoever. In fact, the indigenous nations, whenever a horse would get bitten by a snake or they would get bitten by a scorpion, they had the tobacco leaves, they would put water on it and slap it up against the sting, because nicotine is 30 times more magnetic than venom toxicity. And the nicotine in the natural nicotine will bind to the nicotine receptors in our body, and it will cast off the venom, and then the body will get rid of the venom naturally. This is how God freaking designed us. So that's why there's been an assault on nicotine worldwide.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, actually, because the people I know, good friends who smoke heavily, are having like, and had 1 or 2 of the shots, like, are having like quite a lot of Ascension symptoms. So,
smoking saved my life. Like
all whilst coughing their guts up, but like, it's all detoxing. And it's obviously with your Reiki work, one of the things I've been showing people at my talks and like online and via social media and stuff is that, like, the whole pandemic, as well as a huge military sting operation, what it's done is, you know, it's highlighted like a gazillion things. But the actual the coronavirus in corona itself, is in corona equals crown, was the whole thing was an attack on the human consciousness and our chakra systems and stuff like that. And I've showed people how, you know, corona equals crown, which is designed to shut off the crown chakra, to detach you from your spirituality, your sovereignty and intuition, etc. Calcify the pineal gland using the shots and the tests. You know, that's what all the chemicals in the tests were designed to calcify the pineal gland. And even the masks, you know, the masks were designed to cover the throat chakra, so you don't speak your truth and you don't receive it either. And then obviously we have our quantum fields, which people can feel up to 2 meters or even more. Hence why they brought in the social distancing, you know. And it was a huge attack on our consciousness and abilities and chakra systems. But like, as a Reiki master, the people that you've worked with who have had a number of pharmaceuticals over some time, is that something you've seen quite significantly in terms of like the crown and the third eye being like shut off? And has it taken a lot of work to regain those powers?
Yeah, absolutely. And people can look up something called Carillion photography. And so, AJ, as you know, that's aura photography. It's been around since 1966. Everybody's heard you can take pictures of your aura, right? Because on the light spectrum, we see as human beings roughly 0.003% of everything, right? Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, 4G, LTE, 3G, you name it. It's all on a light spectrum, a light wave frequency. And so on aura photography, for people who have had the jabs, they've taken screenshots and their aura is gone. It's distorted. And they have orange, brown, and black splotches all over the screen. It's literally like you just took nasty mud from Halloween, whipped it at it. And that's another Luciferian holiday. It's blood sacrifice and sex ritual for children, October 31st in North America. So it's on the satanic calendar. It's in the Church of Satan Bible. So it's like literally happened. So that's why it's also key, with the exosome shedding and the plasmids in the air from people who have had the jabs and those like us who have not. We also have to stay vigilant in many realms to keep our vibrational field up. So those exosome plasmid shedding, which have venoms on it, which create the spike proteins, we have to keep that away from us. And you talked about corona, right? Being the coronavirus, crown virus, the crown chakra, the awakening, the amazing experience you had recently. I don't know if you've shared that on your channels. You've continued to awaken, but folks like the Blinged Buddha, right? Again, I said this is not about religion. Buddha represents the awakened one. Buddha means the awakened one. Siddhartha Gautama, if you look up his history, he became awakened after meditating 7 days. And on the 7th day, he rose, right? He awakened under the Bodhi tree in India. Very well documented. So he is a representation of man or womb of man, woman, divine masculine, divine feminine, on how we can all attain enlightenment. And that's part of our objective here on Earth, on this planet and time, is walking that path to attain enlightenment in the physical realm as we move from 3 to 5D. And in addition to that, helping other people do so. And it's body, mind, and soul, which you have to take care of. And there's, no coincidence. It's a trinity, right? Again, keeps showing up.
Absolutely. And you mentioned there like divine masculine, and that's one of the things that, throughout the world within the same countries that are experiencing the same like dystopian tyranny on many accounts is we've seen a sheer lack of that. Obviously, the increase has shot through the roof in the amount of males I'm seeing that are coming back online to their alpha male, fucking warrior status. Whereas we've seen so many of them literally been almost like grounded into like the base 3 chakras and living their life from there, haven't they? Like en masse, where it's literally just about like getting through the day, sex, drink, food, like, and go around the cycle again and again and again. And you only have to look at most town centers. What sort of have you seen as like a significant increase in the amount of males that are coming sort of back online and actually starting to explore, these characteristics about themselves and what it all means? Because I get a lot more DMs from guys now and emails and stuff like that saying, I'd really love to chat to you about this. I'm experiencing this. And what does this mean? Is that the same for yourself?
I haven't seen as many as you have. I actually have a lot of warrior grannies. Like they'll literally put comments in there. I'm a warrior granny from New Zealand, Australia, the UK, you name it, and I do see more that are showing up now. And I believe what's important is, we maintain a physical presence online and they see, hey, there's somebody that's also leading that, I kind of am aligned with. So-and-so's in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They may not be able to look at a Trump figure and go, okay, I can't be that guy. Right? Because there's still that identity. And another part, you talk about the cabal, right? Weaponizing the food and everything and what they did to us. And that's why I raised my hand when you said, drinking, sex, drugs, that's it. Go back to work, do it the next day. I did that for years too, type of thing, right? Never did drugs, by the way. But, that was kind of the thing, right? To just, you do 14, 16 hours at the office, wherever you're working, you go out and you party, and there might be somebody there and off you go. Lots of fun. Now you look at that, you can see how it was covering up, keeping you away from things. By the way, I don't lead a celibate life, so I'm not talking about being celibate. Actually, sexual self-mastery in Tantra has incredible capabilities for you to channel your energy, your kundalini, and your cerebral spinal fluid. That's really key. I don't believe in celibacy whatsoever either, but I'm not saying to everybody like, let's go out, let's be promiscuous and find a new partner and fuck every night. Okay. Talk real here. Like, no, there's divine feminine, divine masculine, and we're here for that reason. And that can have a loving, amazing expression. So one of the other things on the weaponization they did to us, as you're well known, that's come to light, is they added all of these things in it that actually detune the masculinity and also increase the ability for you to maybe want to be homosexual, right? And question things. They've proven this with the frog study. I know you're well aware of it, and most of your audience is well aware of it without going into it, right? But they can literally change the sex of frogs, injecting chemicals into them, go from a male frog to a female frog. And over the course of their lifetime, they can grow from male parts to female parts or become androgynous. Like, and so they've been playing with us and genetically modifying us too. That's another key. Return to sovereignty, God in yourself, right? Is cleanse yourself. Everything is natural, and you're such a great proponent of that and showing people the way.
And you're absolutely right. It's the whole thing that we've been doing from day one is literally trying to get people to identify themselves, what the threats are. In essence, showing people like this huge minefield that's in front of you, but actually showing people where the mines are so they can navigate their way through it. And that's in essence, like, you know, each mine is a potential threat, is a chemical in the water, is chemical in your toothpaste, is chemtrail, is this, is that, you know, it's all the very stuff that's designed to like slow you down, slow your children down from becoming the special ones that they are. And that's one of my key areas and passions, is like trying to get a lot of these teens to understand their true powers, because I see it on a mass scale, that they know all this bullshit that they're being taught in school. They're sitting there going, why am I being taught this? They know the stuff where much better than we did when we were the same age. You know, they are the special ones. And then you only have to look at like how they get hit from all angles, right? You've got all the vaping, the Call of Duties, the Grand Theft Autos, the porn hubs, all these energy drinks and stuff like that. It's just all, and McDonald's, obviously, do you know what I mean? Because it's quick and easy. And it's all designed to keep them in low vibration and dumbed down. And you only have to look at like most street corners here in the UK, and you see these young guys and girls, like especially the guys, like most of them all dressed the same with similar haircuts and similar fashion, similar. Do you know what I mean? There's no identity. There's no I am in any of these people, and it's, you know, that's what I'm really passionate about, trying to bring that back online, because, you know, our teenagers are the special ones going forward, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are. You know, you're the next wave, the pathfinders as well, for everybody that you can bring up behind you. And that masculinity and that femininity, I mean, you and I think we've shared a few of these memes together over the last year or so. There's one meme that bring it to everybody's awareness, where there's a picture of the beach of California back in the late 1960s, right? The guys are looking awesome and muscled, and the women are wearing bikinis, and they all look like they could be a Bo Derek, a 10, if you know that growing up. Wow. And then there's a picture from last year on the same California beach, right? And most of the girls have, you know, metal all over their faces, neck tattoos everywhere. And, you know, they have probably about 100 to 150 pounds of cellulite, most of them. And then the guys are almost the same thing too. And they're drinking out of Slurpee cups and whatnot. You're like, well, what went wrong? Well, we know what went wrong, right? From Operation Paperclip. And it was a weaponization upon us slowly and generationally on purpose to dumb us down. You go back to the 60s and you kind of see that image there. The same thing, you know, with your grandpa, right? Like your dudes. Women were women. And then the Rockefellers came in and said, well, we can double our taxation base, right? In those 13 bloodline families, if we distort the women, create a feminist movement. That, by the way, this is not a conspiracy theory. It's all been proven. And we create a feminist movement, and we get the woman outside the home, which breaks up the nuclear family. And then she goes to work, and now she's wearing pantsuits, and she's looking more like a dude. And the dude is questioning what he does. And then you have movies coming out to start the conditioning. If you remember Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom, right? In that movie in the 80s, which is a great comedy movie, but again, conditioning and starting to play it out. Michael Keaton played a stay-at-home dad. The mother went out and she had the kids and he was taking care of them. And you start seeing that switch. And then you start seeing the feminist movement sponsored by NGOs like you and your amazing folks have done in finding the Soros-funded NGOs in the UK and shutting down access centers. And that's the type of thing we need to get back to. We look at that video of Russia. I think it was you'd sent me a few weeks ago. And you have all these beautiful women standing up, parading together, and guys there too at a concert. And you don't see a single crazy tattoo all over their face. And you don't see neck metal all over their face. Like, it's okay. I'm not going crazy on people with earrings or tattoos or whatnot, but they're all healthy, right? And what did they do? We just heard Putin made it a domestic terrorism crime if you weaponize anything and genetically modify it in Russia. In Russia. So no more weaponization of foods, right? You're a domestic terrorist. You can be tried for terrorism because you've sprinkled some GMO on the food, or you've created GMO food. So at least they have got a few things that I believe we need to articulate. And that again is back to returning to sovereignty and God, brother.
Yeah. And in terms of that returning to sovereignty and God, like, you know, for the people that don't really grasp what that means, what would you say that means to you?
Well, the 10 Commandments are the perfect example of sovereignty, right? And you look at the American articles, you know, we the people, you have the First Amendment, the right to free speech. You're not here to trespass and do harm on others. So the 10 Commandments have stated it, and you just look at the amendments in the United States, and you just look at the Declaration of Independence, right? We never signed that to say we are a government of the people. We are here to govern people, appointed by the people and for the people. So the term governance is different than government. And if we give everybody the answers here and they don't look it up for themselves, you know, they just come on the shows and they just think that we give them all the answers, right? So government and governance. I've already told you all what government means. Go check out what governance means, right? Because that's part of the spelling and the spell casting they've played upon all of us. We should have governance on God's law and common law. And that's what sovereign tracks back to, right? You are an independent sovereign spirit. And we were talking in the pre-chat about, you know, you have to take care of yourself first, because if you're going to be the best you that you can be, then you're going to have better capability of helping others, taking care of others, being a better member of your community, a better father, brother, partner. And again, same thing goes for women, right? I'm just talking because there's two guys here that I see on the screen. So, but the same thing. So you got to take care of you first. Don't do trespass, don't do harm. But if somebody comes to harm you, absolutely. Bishop O'Connor will even tell you, it says so right in the Bible. If they come to harm you, you have, and again, we're talking about a guy who was raised in a boxing family and he's Irish American, right? You know, knock that son of a bitch down. Bishop O'Connor will use those words, and he's used it many times.
Yeah.
Does that make sense for sovereignty for your audience, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people have never really known what that means, just because many people obviously have just been brought up in these control systems that we find ourselves in, whether that be from the educational system, which is completely needs reformed in every country, including yours. You know, it's all very similar blueprint. The medical industry, big pharma, big tech, big food, you know, all these things that control people, that's all they've ever known. So the term sovereignty can be quite alien to people. But it's just like, it's round the corner and it's in like touching distance if you actually take a few steps forward and start paying attention to the fact that like you're in a control timeline loop that's just going to keep you there, like repeatedly on that hamster wheel going around, just thinking this is all life is, when it isn't. You know, you're all much more than that and then some. You know, we talk about like the going into like superhuman like form. Exactly that. Like many people right now are starting to get their wings, literally, and it's not from fucking Red Bull. And I could tell you now, and it's a beautiful thing to see, you know. And that's all the people that have done my courses, come to the talks and stuff like that. They're all, you know, bringing back phenomenal feedback on a daily basis in the chat groups that they're all in. They're all like one big family now. It's amazing, and they're all experiencing like the most phenomenal things. And as I keep reiterating time and time again, there's never been a better time to be alive, you know, at this time as we go through this. In terms of obviously all the work you do, and we've had lots of conversations to this, but like just for the benefit of the audience, like, is it all right to just give an explanation of like these feelings physically and spiritually and emotionally that people are experiencing right now, and what that actually means in relation to like your higher self and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Or maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought we were.
Yeah, so I'll just give like your understanding of like what people are experiencing right now, so they can understand it in terms of the physical symptoms and like the spiritual, emotional, physical feelings people are having that they've not experienced before, for those that maybe don't quite understand it.
Gotcha. That's going to be a good part that we don't edit, right? Brad's like, yeah, absolutely. What? 10 shows in 28 hours, and now we're back at this. So folks, yeah, it's a great point too, because if you're experiencing tingling feelings or you're having odd lucid dreams, you're actually tapping into the quantum field much more. You're actually evolving. You're having more of your soul. Some people describe it as more of your soul is coming into your body. I think that's a great way for certain people to have a description. Mine is, our soul we know is larger than our body, and our body is within our soul. But what we're allowing is more to come through us as our pineal gland, especially, right? Our wireless receiver right here, that in the shape of a pine cone, right? And that's why it's so key. Again, you look at natural pine needle tea, look it up, look at all the benefits of pine pollen. How is it, by the way, when I learned in my aircrew search and survival course at CFB Trenton, at that time, I don't know if they've been teaching it then, but AJ, we learned that on the pine tree in Ontario and all that whole part, eastern spruce pine fir in North America, that you could go up to 90 days living off the pine tree and water. The human body can live off a pine tree and water for up to 90 days. You have your starches, your proteins, your amino acids from a freaking pine tree and good water out of a creek or a lake, as long as there's no beaver fever, right? Giardia in there. So what you're experiencing too is the signs of ascension, those ascension symptoms, as you so eloquently put it. And I love it. The telepathy, which again is psychic. People are clairaudient or clairvoyant. So clairaudient, you might be hearing things. AJ's also clairaudient, so he hears things. And we're not talking about schizophrenic voices, right? Schizophrenia is a form where they've had a lot, that's separate. Schizophrenia is a form where you've had demonic possession, and that individual is also can be separate of a demonic possession. Their fractal, their soul has come in where they're literally, because of the drugs that they've been adding to them in the system, they are acting as a wave signal for multiple entities, benevolent and or malevolent, and then they're articulating that kind of like an avatar, as we saw in the movie Avatar, but they have like many personalities that way. So if you're hearing certain voices and they're benevolent, great. Another one is strength. Like my strength has massively increased, and I give credit to some of the nutrition I'm taking, but on top of that, like my strength, my calisthenics, my cardio, I can work out less and go multiple times between workouts because of my travel, right? I just drove 4,447 kilometers in the mountains of British Columbia and Alberta in 9 days solo. And I wasn't able to work out once because I'm driving 12 to 14 hours a day. And on top of that, through massive amount of wildfires and then staying on 2 reservation lands. But then as soon as I get a chance to stop and go for a run, I can crack off 10K, crack off 75 push-ups, and crack off 250 something of ab workout. And then I'm ready to play. Like that, I'm 45 years old, man. And that could not even happen a year ago. So people are seeing, and I've had so many people reporting this too. People are seeing now a massive increase in strength. Like Jim O'Connor, 70 years old, bench pressing 320 10 times now.
Wow.
He's been bench pressing more than Ricardo Bossi's son, who's 23, right? And we're seeing all of this happen. I bet he can get there too. I mean, 23-year-old bench pressing 230 is amazing as well. So we're seeing all of that happen too. And then I would recommend your audience play with it. Think about a person. If you're noticing you're more telepathic, think about a person, think about it from your heart center, not from your mind, right? You can construct it in your thought, place it in your heart and send out the energy, and then just see if that person reaches out to you and how they reach out to you when they do. And
I've been talking about this loads, and I was talking with friends today literally about this on a walk. Like when you know that you've got big energy and you've got a big energy field, like when you're in the vicinity of someone and you're thinking something, like notice how many times that person repeats, like says what you're thinking. That's increased massively. So they're
thinking that.
Yeah. It's nuts. Like the people you're obviously connected to, and as you go through this higher states of consciousness and your field expands and it just gets bigger and bigger as our DNAs are upgrading, which is what they are. Like pay attention to these little things, and then people start seeing all their numbers, don't they? Like that are kind of aligned with them. Well, we talk about numbers all the time, Is it right to just elaborate on that actually? Because there's a lot of people who see a lot of different numbers and like what that actually means.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, 17's been occurring to me massively in the last few months. And, I've stopped count because it literally happens a dozen or more times a day on average. And I've been sharing with AJ. There was 1 or 2 days essentially. I'm like, okay, I stopped counting at 14. I'd done 14 different screenshots or photos of what had happened. And so the angel numbers is a great one. I find Sacred Scribes is a great way to decode the angel numbers. So if you got the 555s or the 11s coming up, the master number, the 2 are the number of faith, the 3s are the ascended master level numbers, just like a Buddha, Sura Gautama, an ascended master. So I would say if you're seeing these numbers, I mean, they're telling you messages. For about 2 weeks, I had 18s showing up. And they were back to back to back. I had a friend call me who AJ knows. And when she rang me up, I was literally in my car and it said 181181, 181,181 kilometers. I'm like, that's wild. And then 2 times more later that day, I got 1818 back to back on a receipt, when I was buying some stuff at the grocery market. And another one, I'm like, okay, so much that your angels, your guides, and your higher self are saying, don't ignore this. We're giving you signs, not from the beyond, but signs here so that you can read it and your 3D mind can go and sort it out. So, well said. So.
Yeah. And it's just, I actually think that because there's a lot of people obviously who follow the show who get frustrated around like, oh, my family aren't seeing this, our family aren't seeing that, they're not getting this and they're not getting that. Just that little one subject, or seed, let's call it, angel numbers, throw it in there. And just say like, oh, when have you started seeing 1111 all the time, or have you started seeing 77 all the time, or 33, or this and the other, and see what they say, and just leave it at that, and then give it a week or two, and say they'll come to you and say, oh my God, I'm seeing this all the time, blah blah blah. That's a sign that seed you've planted has helped their awareness elevate. Then they'll start seeing all the other stuff. I think it's been a big game changer, and me and Steve Forsyth were talking about this the other day, how that one conversation has been such a game changer in so many people's lives around us. And I know it has in my family. But there's lots of conversation at the minute, obviously, about ascension and awakening and 3D to 5D. What do you see the 3D to 5D conversion look like? Like what does it look like to you? Because you see a lot of talk about people saying, well, people who are energetically in the 3D right now, vibrationally, they're angry, they're spouting off, they're accusing other people of this and that, and it's all very like derogatory and negative. Like we're seeing it quite a lot across like across the internet with people attacking other people and this and the other, kind of like uncharacteristic. But do you think that's like a sign of where we are into the timelines? Because the 5D obviously doesn't look like that. 5D people aren't attacking people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They aren't. And I would say the best visual cue is think about the times in Star Trek you've seen benevolent societies that are also what we consider technologically advanced. At the beginning of my show, I always open it and say, well, we talk about all things ancient, current, and quantum. Quantum, though, is the ancient, right? And we already know this from all societies. So I wouldn't worry that people are thinking, if anybody else is out there is thinking, or has the thought being brought up, if I go 5D and I'm zooming around, what's going to happen to them? They've made their choice. They're on their timeline, and you're going to have more of the tribe in the resonant field come to you, which supports you, your soul family, your old star seeds, your cosmic family coming to you, and benevolent galactics will soon be walking among us, or other people might say we're soon walking among them with them, because many of them are already with us right now, and through phase shift we're not able to see them on purpose yet, until we all have the collective to say this is fine, this is benevolent, this is okay, whether it's the Telosians, the Arcturians, the Andromedans, Pleiadians, and a whole bunch of others that we've discussed before, right? The benevolence, part of that federation. So think of Star Trek, right? I just had everybody's about to see a show I'm about to air with the inventor of the plasma medbed. These things are here now. They are in countries around the world. They're even in the UK, right? You can go to these centers, Tesla coil underneath, 500,000 volts run through your body. We've taken dead light bulbs. This is after I did that amazing show with David Selmar. Thanks to Steve again for the introduction. You take a dead light bulb that's been thrown in the trash by the landlord at the clinic, and they're like, no, this is fine. And they take that fluorescent tube light bulb and place it in that field, and it lights up. You go, doo, 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 it's up, and then it's back out. Put your hand in that. We have, cats, dogs, animals completely healed of cancer, which in the United States, it's awesome. You can say that natural stuff heals animals from cancer, but you can't say that about human beings. So we're there now. It's just coming more to the foresight, right? The maglev trains, the tunnels that have been cleaned up, we're about to leverage the use of that, the stargates and the portals. And then, by the way, this is part of your awakening process, dear souls. For you and your sovereignty to understand that you are the stargate, you are the quantum reactor, that you can channel in Lord Metatron, Archangel Metatron, awesome Archangel, along with Michael, because everybody typically goes to Michael. This is his sword I have over here. But there's so many angels that are just sitting on the sidelines, on the warm-up bench, waiting for somebody to call them into action. Moment like that. And when you call them into action, you thank them, right? They're here for the benevolence of you. So then the ability for us to bilocate, which has been proven and is here without even having a transporter system like on the Enterprise in Star Trek, you can do that. And that's where we're about to get to over these next few years, right? Is we have to return our society to sovereignty in every country, right? No joke how they labeled it country and NGO, as our mutual friend Mark Atwood, who I spent a good part of the time on the Truth Tour last year in America traveling with. He likes to say cunt, 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 cunt. Like, we have to get over the word and spell casting, that they've shared. And that's one of his greatest and most watched poems. And literally, I was there in the audience as we're playing this at each stop on the Truth Tour that I was on with him, from Cheyenne, Wyoming, where we had the F-16s fly over at 100 feet off the deck, 8 of them, 30 seconds apart, to him going, I'm going to play this for you. And the majority of the women in the audience, going back to the men thing we talked about earlier, brother, the majority of the women in the audience are in the grandmother years, the current grandmother years. That's also the scale to change. In a return to sovereignty and God, you're going to go back to hundreds of years of capability of life. It's already been proven again. Bruce Lipton in his studies, right, that he's brought forward, and Dr. Christian Northrup has brought forward. We can actually live in this quote unquote meat suit, as people call it, infinitely. If we give it the right bioresonance and vibration. Like, it's not meant to deteriorate, right? So just imagine anybody 60 or 75 is watching now, and they're like, oh, I'm just getting to my retirement and that's it, right? No, you're just waking up. I'm still like a little kid. I identify as my 18-year-old self, but I got a lot more wisdom and knowledge and experience and lessons in this lifetime. And I'm healthier. I've got way more stamina than I've ever had in my life, in all areas of my life, and bringing it for the world. So when Mark was playing this film, and you just saw hundreds of women in each stop laughing their butts off because he's literally cunt, 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 cunt. We have to get over that conditioning, because those are NGOs, right? We have all been living, the sun never set on the British Empire. We've all been living a life, a lie, right? There's lie in life. We've all been living a life they created in a system they set over us to enslave us, suck your soul, time, energy, and money, and remove ourselves from that, return to the sovereignty first, the person, the community, and the area we're living in. And then we understand and we appreciate each other, and we have treaties and an understanding of a common way of barter and trade, which likely is going to be the XRP ledger, right? Trillions of transactions in a second. And then we have the ability to fly, the free energy, like David Selmar, like Plasma Medbeds, Dan Winter, and his co-inventor are worldwide. You've got the pharmakeia system gone. Commander-in-Chief Trump said that anybody who is a drug dealer gets the death penalty. To me, I also interpret that as those who are pushing the pharmaceuticals, right? Outside of the Nuremberg violations of the COVID pandemic, scandemic on us. You're creating it as a scientist, and you know that you're modifying people and weaponizing it against them. I believe you're taking off this earth plane with the pedophiles and then you're before the courts of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little
absolutely.
bit long. We covered a lot in there, so
Well,
feel free to pick
you
apart.
hit many nails on the head there, brother. And it's like, it's all plain to see. You know, there's no secret that we've got tribunals that are upon us for the very same people that, you know, myself, yourself, and millions of other people out there warn their family and friends from engaging with, i.e., you know, these medical professionals that, you know, went completely against their oath willingly and paid for as well handsomely. You know, why do you think all your doctor's appointments are all cancelled and that for anything, but you can still go and get a shot? But, you know, whilst they're getting paid, you know, £12 or $20, whatever it is, a go. It's plain and obvious for you to see. So these people you'll probably see like disappear into the limelight fairly soon, along with a number of members of parliament, along with the people in the social services, along with people in the police force, and even in the military. The people have all been coercing together as part of this evil satanic mess that's been weighed on people, but on our children. You know, people in the military that like pretty much blackmailed their own troops into getting this bioweapon at the expense of their careers or going on tour. Honestly, if I showed you some of the emails I've had from even parents of young soldiers who are like devastated that like their son or daughter's been made to have a choice to have this bioweapon, or they can't go on tour or promote and all this kind of stuff. You know, those people you're going to see disappear very soon, because just like the election, you know, everything's recorded on quantum technology, because people don't look at that realm of stuff. It's way beyond that. They only look in a linear term of what's being presented in front of them at all times. That's what the distractions always are. But everything's recorded quantum. So every email that these commanding officers sent, all been recorded. Every email that these management and NHS sent regarding pushing all the shots, all recorded. So there's no hiding for these people. And they will get what coming from them. And, you know, we only need to let the powers that can be deal with those people, whilst we are collectively helping, you know, people understand what this enslavement, engulfment has all been about, and help them unplug them from it, raise the consciousness, and, you know, take people back to that sovereignty and get them to understand what that looks like. That's kind of like our role. But it's also at an individual level. That's everyone's roles now, is to step into that sovereignty, away from all the bullshit systems that are, you know, really engrossed us over many, many years. And in terms of timelines, do you think that right now, as we're recording this on Thursday, the 3rd of August, do you think we're in a timeline now that's for us moving forward? And do you see, are we moving into quite a rapid shift?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like weeks to months.
Yeah.
We don't even have to, we can throw out the word years.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Yeah. So my birthday's 7th of September. So if it all goes on the 7th of September, my big 4-1, ladies and gents, you're all invited. Wherever you are in the world.
Awesome. Love that. You know, so you're 777 is your birthday. And this year, if you look at it from September, and I'm melding the Gregorian, the Julian calendars here, because there's a funny little alignment that, you know, you and I talk about, right? We're recording this in the 17th week.
Yep.
Odds week. And there were 777 books of the Bible. Anybody can go and reach out to Bishop Jim O'Connor, former U.S. Army Major in the pre-Constantine Orthodox Church. Not 61, not 66, or 777, God's number. And you were born on 777, and that amalgamation of numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a coincidence.
Pretty special, huh? And it's and that's the beauty of this all. And I think it's all like what I'm seeing as well is people are starting to understand what shaping their reality really means, rather than having our reality shaped for us. Because that's what this all is. Everything's a projection of us, isn't it? That's why I say to people, like, don't get caught up on like the whole, is the earth round, is the earth flat? I was like, it doesn't even, it's not objective. If you actually, because you're not looking at it from a quantum perspective. So I was explaining to people, like, it's not actually an objective thing, because your world, your earth, is a projection of you. It's a construct of information that you've constructed, like through your projection since the day you were born. Like, and that's what it's sort of been about. That's how reality is shaped, isn't it? Everything's a construct of like based on a bandwidth of information, your quantum field. So people always think of it as objectively, and then they stay on that argument. Again, that's why they throw those two theories in there for people to argue over and to keep maximum of people away from true Mother Earth or Gaia or whatever you want to call it, and your ability to understand that it's just a projection of you. And I was explaining this in a video recently. It's just like the Earth is obviously a projection of you, but the Earth is green. Your heart chakra is green. Is an anagram. Heart is an anagram of Earth. So everything comes from here as a projection. Is that projection? So stay as heart based as much as you can, because that's how your projection stays so much brighter. And that's why, like, the whole heaven and hell, it's not heaven and hell. It's not like a magical place in the sky and something underground. It's heaven and hell, as in like down at your base chakra. So everything is, and that's why I say to people, you know, like there's not necessarily like white hats out there, like magical people like doing all this stuff. Like, we are the white hats, because we are the pulling white light through our hat, our head, into our bodies. And when that's powerful, our field gets felt by everybody else, which can heal people, making us also the med beds or a form of healing technology, because that's what we are. That's how powerful we are. And if people can see it like that, rather than focusing their attention on a character or a group of people or things, and you can understand it's all a projection of you, everything is, and that we're projecting this right now, just like we've already forecasted this experience, because we've already pre-sent this experience to ourselves. Our higher self has pre-sent this experience. That's why it's important to stay present. And that's what it is. And when people can understand it, that we are electromagnetic, multi-dimensional beings, basically walking along this plane of a bandwidth of information, of frequency, everything becomes so much more clearer. And then you can start understanding the power of manifestation. And I think, like, if the more people can see it from that angle, you can see that there's no need to turn your energy towards these arguments and these things, and 5G this and flat earth this and blah, blah, blah. That's all there as just more distraction, isn't it? And people are getting better at waving through these distractions. And that's what would be my message the last few weeks. Like, if people are spending all their time trying to channel you to one direction as the only truth, there's a reason for it. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be your truth. What I'm just said right now doesn't have to resonate with you. Just like the stuff you say doesn't have to resonate with everybody. And that's the beauty of all this kind of stuff. It's all based on perspective and projection. And I think people understanding the sheer magnitude of our bodies, like just how you teach all the time, is literally the way forward. Would you agree that, like, as soon as you understand the power of the mind and the body, the sheer essence of it, everything's so much clearer?
That absolutely is. And, to your point, AJ, that you keep making, and that is perfect with all the examples, including the flat earth, round earth. What really matters today, folks, is you matter, and then the kids matter. Mm-hmm. Hands down. And if anybody else out there, in my personal opinion, is espousing other stuff as a distraction from you and the children, call it Sound of Freedom, right, with the movie. And by the way, that's another landmark moment, right? Being a guy who is working up that ladder in North Hollywood and screenwriter, and then the pandemic as well. I'm like, finally get to do my other dream. It was either fly F-18s for the Royal Canadian Air Force, or go and make action movies and be in them, right? Good is overcoming evil always. And I want to always be that good guy shown type of thing. And now Sound of Freedom is the #1 movie, remains that way an entire month as of today over any other movie in the world where it's been released, right? And it's all done by a grassroots movement. So if anybody's distracting you from taking care of yourself, your body, your mind, your soul, and then you doing something that can bring awareness to saving children, I believe that person doesn't deserve any other second of energy, time, sight, or sound in your life. Agreed. Whatsoever.
Yep. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think there's too much going on, UK, US, and of trying to keep people in little boxes of, certain information. It's not necessarily their truth. And it's not actually that important. And that's why, the recent break I've had from social media, albeit kind of forced, but actually worked out and massively in my favor, because it's allowed me to completely detach myself from a lot of noise and do what we do best and build stuff, right? And as a result of that, you know, there's so much things have been unfolded in the last sort of 10-day period, and we're seeing that for himself. It's becoming very obvious, like, where there's individuals everywhere that like just focus on keeping people in one box, one area of information. This is the only truth. Or it's just around the same fear-based content all the time. So it just keeps people in fear loops or around 3D shite, when everyone needs to be thinking quantum now, you know, because you think quantum, you live quantum. It's as simple as that. All the other nonsense just withers away. You know, I've seen it in my own life massively. That's why I don't put any energy towards, you know, like all these energy suckers that are out there, because that's all they're designed to do, you know, and that's at every level. That's like the people on your news, that's the like certain podcasts, certain speakers, certain influence, whatever that may be. It's all about channeling your energy, which is our most expensive currency, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. And and it doesn't mean be complacent and not have awareness, folks, right? You know, what AJ is saying, like, so for example, what's going on in the world, you know, with BRICS, for example, well, that directly has an impact on you. BRICS is the QFS, the quantum financial system. This is where we're going back to. It was just announced, even Forbes carried the article yesterday, you know, $6 trillion in gold, 6 trillion in gold crypto earthquake expected was their article yesterday on Forbes. So again, all those conspiracy theorists, now conspiracy fact. And so that has an impact on you in the society, what the banking system's doing there. And Canada is the #1 worst banking system in the world. You can look it up online. And JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America closing down in over 20 states people's accounts because on social media they don't like Biden, or they said Biden's an actor or whatever, right? So you got to take care of yourself. You know, you have your financial security, your health security. You have to have an awareness of what's going out there, but you don't need to participate in that unless it's taking care of yourself, being sovereign, and standing up for the kids. And Pastor Archer just said 40 hours ago on our show, he said, I grew up with my brother and my parents behind the Iron Curtain in Poland, in communism, in the Soviets. He said it was 50,000 communists across the entire Soviet Union, controlled 36 million people. And the moment those people stood up, it was game over. So that's also important for us to do peacefully as well. But make sure you've got your house in order before you do that, right? You're not going to go and run a triathlon race if you've never put on a pair of shoes before and made it down your freaking driveway. But get ready. Like, we need you now. We need everybody in this fight, the spiritual battle. And the quantum has always been in us, because quantum is the God mind. Everything, everywhere, at any point ever is quantum. That's the God mind that's been within us that we express outward. So it's been an honor, mate.
Absolutely, mate. And I was just about to say, it's a perfect way to finish the show on, man. So for the guys and girls, where can people find you, like, to learn more about what you do and check your show out and see the legend that is Brad in the flesh in more places?
Well, thank you, Sonny. I appreciate it. We always have this little back and forth, Gramps and Sonny. Appreciate it. So I can finally announce for the first time, thanks to you and thanks to Sean, shopthebuddha.com website will be up in about 48 hours. And we're going to have some really cool stuff there. And Rumble always, it's the only place I'm allowed to be, is the Sovereign Soul. So you go to rumble.com/C for channel C, and then the Sovereign Soul, and you'll find the Sovereign Soul show in our archive of over 250 shows in the last 14 months, including about 6 with AJ on there. So thank you very much for all of what you do. And I just want to, maybe we just say a blessing to everybody who's on here, mate, and maybe do the law of encroachment prayer for people who might have some evil still kind of penetrating through, as a way to sign off. What do you think?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right, cool. So this comes from Bishop Jim O'Connor. It's law of encroachment prayer. And I have literally seen miracle healings with my own eyes, including with Colonel Chuck Sellers in his home, in his family room, where he's had a cyst on the back of his leg and his back, which required him to be retired from Delta Force as the former deputy commander, healed his back with this prayer. And it's like 3 sentences. And so in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, and that's entirely up to you, or the Holy Spirit, however you take it, I call upon the courts of heaven and I invoke the law of encroachment. And I ask the holy angels to come to me and all these divine souls who are assembled and hearing this voice and watching this message to remove any evil operations over them and their loved ones. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Beautiful.
I've seen technological devices restored with that prayer. And what Jim has said is it comes from the heart. You know, when you're reciting it from the head and you're not putting your heart into it and feeling it. And then at the end of it, we say, thank you. I say, thank you in the prayer after that. And you're talking about a guy who up until a year ago, I still would, you know, I'm like, I know prayer's there. I'm good. I got Reiki. Wow. Again, another great awakening experience to the power of prayer.
Beautiful, man. Well, guys and girls, so that's a great way to end the show on. And I'm sure that you've taken a lot away from this today. Whether it's like yourself going through a bit of a shift and not really understanding what it all means, you know, continue on that path to keep like discovering what that is about, because you are on the right track and you are going to great places. You've just got to align yourself like with the right information, the right people to help you with that information, to help you with your journey, as well as keeping your own house in order, and, you know, make a bit more time for I am going within, because that's what most of the answers are. And it helps speed up, but also make this process a lot more comfortable whilst you're trying to navigate through the minefield that is life at the moment. So do align yourself with people like Brad, all the people out there that are doing great work, to, you know, to show you who you are and what you're freaking capable of. And that's what this is all about. But for me and Brad, ladies and gents, enjoy yourself, look after yourself. Please give this a share far and wide, tag your friends. Let's get everyone on board now. We're at a time where I think we just all need to go all in on who we are, what we're about, and just connecting with as many like-minded souls as possible. But for the both of us, take care, and I'll see you once again very soon on the AJ Roberts Show.